There is something about a quality horror experience that gets the blood pumping and the spine truly tingling. Many people flock to scary movies to sit down and hopefully feel a terrifying thrill. Others like to drape themselves in their favorite blanket to read a book full of mystery, suspense, and sometimes gruesome scenes. However, there is one medium that truly gives that immersive feeling that makes horror all the more impactful, and it's filled with the most beautiful and horrific minds in the video game industry, most of which are not backed by giant corporations. Stick around, and you'll hear exactly why indie horror games dominate AAA titles in volume and creativity. Hello and welcome. My name is May, and this episode of Horror Watch is about why indie horror games rule this specific area of gaming. As I've made it clear on my channel, I love indie horror. And if that makes this whole take biased, that's okay, this is my series. Again, this series is mainly meant to be about expressing my opinion about the horror world, even if it has been a while since the first episode. And to begin expressing this one that's been brewing in my mind, I'd like to begin with just how powerful indie horror games are as a whole. True immersive horror comes from a small team of friends or a single person working out of their bedroom. It comes from those who have a story to tell that's full of terrifying twists, turns, and troubles. They don't have the budget that the big studios do, but that just makes their works of art even better. Some of the best performing horror franchises and standalones have come from indie studios. Think Little Nightmares, Still Wakes the Deep, Mouthwashing, and so many more. Even the Five Nights at Freddy's Empire began with just one simple indie game that took place in one room full of monitors. Now, that one game has turned into many sequels, spin-offs, books, and even movies. Meanwhile, games like Outlast are so good that players may forget their indie titles to begin with. The success of these kinds of games is nothing short of astounding when comparing their budgets to big studios.
Come back here, you little fish bastard. Holy salami! How long have you been standing there? What? 30,000 downloads? Sweet ass Abraham. You're telling me 30,000 people have heard my voice?
The true beauty lies within the passion behind them, and the artistic, stylized representations of fear and dread they bring to the scene. It is truly one of the most diverse subgenres in the world of indie game development. The main reason why these devs are able to accomplish all this is the sheer amount of creative freedom that they have. There are no strict deadlines and no impatient investors wanting to get the product rushed out as quickly as possible. They have the time to craft something that is so unique to them that it's nearly impossible to recreate. And that is a beauty in itself. Now, I am not blind to the success of horror games made by larger studios. Series such as Resident Evil and Silent Hill are icons that people have been enjoying for decades and will continue to enjoy for more decades to come. Their success is well earned, just like the indie games I mentioned previously. However, when looking closer at many of the horror games backed by big money, there is an obvious pattern. They tend to be action games with horror woven into the narrative. While the narratives and environments they bring to the table are still works of art, they don't show off the amount of diversity that horror has to offer. When comparing them to indie horror games, the diversity seems a bit abysmal. Now, why is this exactly? Why do the large studios and publishers putting time and money into these games seem to never expand beyond action-adventure? The answer to that is the same one for most recent decisions made by these studios: money. Earning a profit is not a bad thing at all, and it's obviously needed to keep the big studios going. But it does put a limit on what these studios can do. This is also why these AAA horror games, in my humble opinion, tend to be less scary than their indie counterparts. Indie devs have no real need to appeal to these giant investors. so they can unleash their beautiful and twisted minds to create an experience that fills players with dread, helplessness, and unadulterated terror. Now, that's not saying that no AAA horrors are scary. I think the upcoming Silent Hill game will score high in the scare factor, especially since it's been made clear that the character you play won't be wielding a gun. Of course, works of art in the gaming world can seldom be accomplished without funding or attention being brought to the titles. That's why it's crucial to support indie devs who work with every genre or subgenre. The easiest way to support them would be to buy their games, but it can be hard to find these gems. Thankfully, Steam offers users a way to filter all the games on the platform to just show them the indie titles. It's just the same as clicking on a specific genre when searching for something new to play. Meanwhile, sites like Itch.io or GameJolt are amazing hubs for indie games. Many of them are free to play, but it's always good to give $1 or more to the devs when given the option before clicking download. There's always a constant stream of indie games flowing onto these platforms, so make sure to browse through every once in a while. Word of mouth is always essential to making potential players aware of these amazing projects. This can be simply done by posting on social media, making gameplay videos, or even just telling a friend about a game you played. No matter how you do it, you're helping an indie dev take one more step to finding the success they deserve. And if you need one last reason to support indie devs, the games they make are much cheaper, which is a big selling point in the world of $80 games we have found ourselves in. And if you want a way to support channels like mine that are dedicated to showing off these games, dropping an extra view, like, or comment can go a long way, as does signing up to be a member if said creator has the ability to have memberships, which I do. That's all for me. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope to make another one of these sooner rather than later. I know I've been procrastinating on a lot of stuff, and I am working on that, don't you worry. It's my problem, and I got it covered. So yeah, take care.